Welcome to Fox 9 All Day. I'm Amy Hockert. It is Monday. We're so glad you're with us. March 24th already. Where has the time gone? Ryan Rablin is writing this ship today. Leo is directing. It's going to be a great couple of hours. We have a lot to get to, including some breaking big news from the sports world over at the U of M, where the Gopher men's basketball team has a new coach. So we'll tell you a little bit about that. Also, Bloomington Police Chief Booker Hodges is going to join us fresh off of this press conference that he just had about some men who were arrested and charged now for soliciting minors for sex in Bloomington. This was called Operation I Can't Help Myself. It's getting a lot of attention, and Chief Hodges is here to talk to us about that. Also been a lot of fallout from that sting operation in Bloomington, including the state senator who ended up stepping down amid charges that he was involved. So we're going to chat with political analyst Blois Olson about some of that and what's happened now since Justin Eichorn's arrest in Bloomington. And the people who have now stepped in and said they want to run for that seat. A little bit later, 23andMe is going belly up. So where does that leave people who maybe have given their most personal genetic information to a company that does that kind of thing? We're going to chat with an expert who is going to talk a little bit more about consumer rights when any company goes up or files for bankruptcy. And then a little bit later, we have a new member of our Fox 9 stream team. He's going to be new to some of you, but if you have been watching All Day Live, if you've been listening to KFAN radio for any amount of time, you're going to recognize him. We're going to welcome Max Fuller to Fox 9 full time. We are so excited that he's part of the team, so he's going to join us a little bit later as well. So great couple of hours. Anything that's happening live, we're going to bring you there. If it bubbles up and it's something we feel like we can bring you and it's impactful, we're going to bring that to you. So let's start with this. Speaking of impactful, this is big news for the U of M. The Gopher men's basketball team has a new coach. If you watched the NCAA tournaments at all this weekend, you'll probably recognize him. His name has been floated out there a little bit over the course of the last couple of weeks since Ben Johnson was let go. Colorado State's Niko Medved will be the next coach of the Gophers. Let's bring in Ryan Rablin here. Ryan, he's got some pretty deep ties to the school here. So what do we know about Niko Medved?
Yeah, he kind of checks the boxes here for what the Gophers were looking for. He's somebody who has local ties to the program and then also has an established resume. So remember when we hired Ben Johnson 4 years ago, he had kind of the ties to the program, but didn't have kind of that coaching resume that we're looking for. So with Niko Medved, he's been around. He's his first head coaching job was at McAllister here, then went on to Furman, then spent 1 season at Drake, but he really started to become more of a national name with Colorado State. He's made 3 NCAA tournament appearances, including this one. Almost had his team in the Sweet 16. He was just a few seconds away from punching that ticket until Maryland had that buzzer beater last night. So Medved comes back to the Gophers now as the head coach, and I think this was really kind of the target candidate all along for the Gophers. I know there may be some splashier names that people wanted, but in terms of someone who has the resume, has the coaching experience, and has those ties to the program, I think this was a good hire for the Gophers. Okay.
It sounds like his family, I read somewhere, is there season tickets involved or something still for the Gophers? Is something I read as well. So,
well, we saw his wife last night a lot on the broadcast. They showed her. She was very into the game, was decked out in Colorado State, was sitting with the father of a player on that team. So they cut away to her several times. So she now will be at Williams Arena, I'm sure, sporting the maroon and gold. So we'll find out. I think he's going to be formally introduced later this week. Okay. So we'll get to see Niko Medved back in maroon and gold.
Okay, that's hopefully exciting for Gopher fans, given how far he took his team this year, and those Minnesota ties, as we know, so important to the organization. So okay, sounds good, Ryan. All right, let's set up our first interview here. So we do have some more information coming out today on former state senator Justin Eichorn and his arrest for trying to solicit a minor for sex. So Eichorn, you might remember, resigned last week after he was federally charged. 40 years old, he was arrested while trying to meet a teenager in Bloomington. Prosecutors say he was actually communicating, though, with an undercover detective. They say in a phone call from jail, Eichorn tried to get an associate to remove a computer from his St. Paul apartment. These are some things we're learning now today. But the woman showed up just as the FBI was executing a search warrant last week. Agents ended up blocking her from retrieving that laptop. They also found a bag with a handgun, $1,000 in cash, and an iPhone that appeared to be factory reset, possibly an attempt to destroy evidence, they believe. Eichorn also allegedly told the court that he did not have any guns at his apartment. So all of this kind of coming to light today. He's still in jail, set to be released to a halfway house, though, as early as tomorrow. Prosecutors, though, now asking for a new detention hearing. They say that the fact that they believe he lied and conspired with someone else to retrieve a computer, possibly covering up evidence here, proves that if he is released, that he could threaten the investigation and even possibly put the public at risk. So just a little bit ago here, Bloomington Police Chief Booker Hodges shared some more details on this bigger undercover sting that actually led to the arrest of Eichorn and 8 other people from Minnesota and Wisconsin. All of these men were swept up in that operation. Last week, they were charged with soliciting prostitution from a minor over the age of 16. Eichorn, though, the only one being charged by the U.S. Attorney's Office rather than local prosecutors. So we're going to get into some of that with Chief Booker Hodges here coming up in just a couple of minutes as well. Okay, hold on. Sorry, just thinking out loud and listening to Ryan here. So, and just hopefully in a few minutes here, we'll be able to talk with Blois Olson about what this means and some of the fallout here. Because there are several people now vying for what is now an open seat because he vacated that seat. He resigned immediately after these allegations come out. So we'll get to Blois here in just a couple of minutes when we get him. Okay, let's see. Yeah, why don't we do that, Ryan? Why don't we take a quick break and we can reset with some other headlines. We're going to check your weather. What a gorgeous start to the day, start to the work week here. So let's check in with Cody, and then we'll be right back on the other side here with some more local headlines. All day live continuing. We're rolling on right after this. Stay with us.
Good afternoon. It is a very pretty start, but it's been a chilly start. Temperatures starting out in those low to middle 20s, but rebounding nicely now that we're into the midday and afternoon hours. And in between a couple different storm systems. That one brought plenty of wind and some light rain to parts of the metro, even a couple of snowflakes, although accumulating snow falling across northern Minnesota over the weekend. In between both systems, and so that gives us some clearing, essentially up and down that 35 corridor across much of central and eastern Minnesota. That will give a pretty decent day for a lot of us. Next little storm system arriving, although will stay likely to our south and west. However, that's going to throw some cloud cover in our direction eventually. We'll get through a lot of the daylight hours today before some of that arriving into parts of the metro towards sunset. Can't rule out a sprinkle, maybe even an overnight flurry in southwestern Minnesota. Won't amount to anything. More cloud cover as we get into your Tuesday. More cloud than sun, but still some sunny breaks overall. Best chances for a little bit of moisture, trying to squeeze that out with a light little drip or a very light sprinkle opportunity going into Tuesday evening. And then if we have some moisture linger, there may be a couple of flurries or a snow shower Wednesday morning. It's not going to amount to anything as temperatures actually start warming as we get into Wednesday afternoon, back above average and likely into the 50s here in the Twin Cities. For your Monday, it's all about the upper 40s to just about 50, so right around or slightly above average, although certainly cooler in our snow-covered areas now across portions of northern Minnesota. 49 today in the Twin Cities. Here's that 7-day forecast. Upper 40s continuing to Tuesday, may shave a degree or two off depending on just how many clouds are around and the sprinkle chances. Otherwise, that warming trend kicks in on Wednesday. Some solid 50s, upper 50s Thursday, 60s possible Friday, and then an unsettled weekend. We'll see just how fast we fall, but quite likely 50s on Saturday and 40s for your Sunday. All right, more All Day Live is coming up next.
You're watching Fox 9 All Day.
And welcome back to Fox 9 All Day. We are into the noon hour here. It was just less than a couple of hours ago when we heard from Bloomington Police Chief Booker Hodges, who held a press conference about a prostitution sting involving minors. It's called Operation I Can't Help Myself, and it did lead to the arrest and charges of 9 people, including former Minnesota Senator Justin Eichorn. So we want to welcome in Chief Booker Hodges, now Bloomington PD. Thanks so much for joining us, Chief.
Thanks for having me.
So let's step back just for a moment and tell us about the overall sting operation here. How long has it been in the works, and what was the goal?
Yeah, so the agencies along the entire 494 corridor, we continuously have these type of operations. It just depends on which city that they're held in, and this one was held in the city of Bloomington. So when we're doing these operations, we are looking to get adults who are trying to have sex with minors. We are looking to try to provide services to those who may be trafficked. And we're, most importantly, what is very difficult to do, are looking to catch the actual traffickers.
And so when you talk about the area that's being covered here, I think, people might watch that and go, well, wow, Bloomington is really doing this, and they're going all in on this. But it sounds like it's really more vast than that as far as area goes.
It is, and I just think we inform the public about what we're doing, where other agencies just send out press releases. And obviously we're going to be more diligent here because we have 10,000 hotel rooms and 50 hotels, which is more than any place in Minnesota. And our hotels are. We got the highest occupancy rate too in Minnesota. So when people come to Minnesota, there's a good chance they're going to stay in Bloomington.
Yeah, and so let's talk a little bit about sort of the public way that this has gone down today, but also in other instances as well. This is really something that you've become known for, is sort of putting these folks who are arrested and charged on notice, as well as the public. So can you walk us through some of what you did today during your press conference to really get this message out and to get a lot of attention here?
Yeah, so we let people know who these people are who are coming to our communities trying to mess with our kids. And for me, it's always going to be about victims. And when you talk to people who have been victimized by some of these folks, they always feel like they don't have a voice, and it happens in the shadows. And every single time I do one of these, especially when we do have victims involved, we get calls from the victims saying, "Thank you for doing this." And, it's something that, and I said at the press conference, and I've said this for years, I think law enforcement and our communities in general are getting our hats handed to us when you're starting to deal with human trafficking, especially when you're dealing with our minors. I just want people to think about, these operations, right? It's the middle of the day, and these people are willing to come to a house of a kid to have sex. Just let that sink in for a second. With no fear of recourse, right? So you come here, there's a likelihood you're going to get some recourse.
Yeah. And what was one of the things that was really interesting in sort of reading the charges against specifically former State Senator Eichorn was the conversation that was had between, now we know, this undercover officer and Eichorn, in talking about the age and what was the age of consent. And it was very clear that that was addressed in this. So can you kind of talk a little bit about that? And because obviously it feels like this was a target for maybe between 16 and 18-year-old victims, but obviously we know that there are much younger victims as well. So can you kind of walk us through the age piece of this and how pervasive this is amongst our children?
Well, so the last one we did in August, I think we focused on 15-year-olds. So we switch it up, right? So the age, we were talking about a 17-year-old, and as an adult, you can't have sex with a 17-year-old, and you for sure can't offer to pay for it, right? Regardless. And you'll look and see in a lot of these people want to be lawyers, and at the end of the day, if you have to ask a question, you already know the answer to it, right? So if you need to know, like, if 17, 16, 15 is legal, you already know the answer. And these guys know the answer. So, I mean, for us, it's just about going after these people that want to mess with minors.
Yeah. The most high-profile one, of course, of the 9 that were nabbed in this latest operation was former State Senator Justin Eichorn. Did you guys know who he was at the time? And if not, how did you find out?
No idea who he was. I was at the southwest border in San Diego with a group of law enforcement folks from here, Minnesota and Wisconsin. We're doing a tour of the border. And the morning where we got ready to go do the tour, someone said, "Do you know you got a state senator in your jail?" And I said, "No." And I called the jail, and I couldn't pronounce his name. Sorry, I'm bad at names. But they didn't know who he was either. We had no idea who he was.
Okay.
None. And one of the things that we started to do here, and well, let me back up. He used a communication device that prohibited us from even knowing his identity prior to us arresting him. Because typically some people, like, use devices. If you use your cell phone, we can figure out who you are. But he used a device that prevented us from doing that.
And in his particular case, it's my understanding that the federal authorities have taken over his case. Is that accurate? And why is that?
Well, and I said this at the press conference. There was a guy, Michael Gillis, who we got in August. We got him in August. He got smarter. He went to Florida, did the same thing. And then in March, he had raped a 15-year-old boy. And then after raping the 15-year-old boy, he gets out of jail again. So at that point, I contacted our federal partners to start looking at taking some of these cases federal, which was before we had our operation. And then he came along in this operation, and obviously the federal folks are focused on a public official. But we've also, they're also looking at additional cases in this round here to try to look at some federal charges for some of these other folks too.
Yeah. Chief Hodges, if you obviously did the press conference. If people didn't get a chance to see that, and this is what they see today, what would be your message to anybody that's looking to do this kind of thing here in the state of Minnesota, especially in Bloomington?
So you come here, we're going to lock you up. Period. I mean, we're not going to sweep it under the rug so people don't know who you are. That's not going to happen here. But the message I want to give: parents, monitor your kids' device use. I got a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old, right? And I'm not going to tell anybody how to be a dad or a mom, but my kids do not have cell phones. They don't. And they're not going to have them until they can pay for them. But monitor your kids' cell phone use and what they're doing on their devices. These guys, they prey on them. They lie to them. And like in the case of Michael Gillis, he sent an Uber to kill.
I think we're maybe frozen up there with the chief, but a powerful message from him as always when he steps forward and talks about some of the things that are happening in his community. So thank you, Chief. If you're watching, thanks for your time. Appreciate it very, very much. Well, now that Justin Eichorn's Senate District 6 seat is open, several people have thrown their hats into the ring. One of them is Jennifer Carnahan. You may recognize that name from the headlines. The last couple of years, she announced that she is running. She's the former chairwoman of the Republican Party of Minnesota, and she's not the only one. So we've asked political analyst Blois Olson to join us this afternoon as well, founder of Fluence Media, and kind of weigh in on what's happening and some of the political fallout from this. So do we have Blois ready to go? There he is. Hey, Blois, thanks so much for taking some time here. Appreciate it.
Happy to be here, Amy.
All right, so first let's start with Jennifer Carnahan, because she's the one that jumps out here as somebody that maybe most people would recognize. Can you walk us through a little bit of the timeline, some of her history?
Sure. She's a former state party chair. She resigned after the Antonio Lazaro case, dealing with sexual issues where he was recruiting and paying young women for sex in his condo, and they had a podcast together. He was one of her biggest financial contributors. So she has a history for sure. with Lazaro. Lazaro's now been sentenced. Carnahan then moved up north to Nisswa. She has a store in Nisswa, and she was elected last fall as the mayor of Nisswa. So she kind of recreated her political career up in northern Minnesota.
Yeah, and then also some people may remember Jim Hagedorn and the relationship there as well. She
was married to former Congressman Hagedorn and ran for his seat, lost in a primary after he passed away of cancer.
Yeah, that was in 2022. I just wanted to read this statement. This is from Jennifer Carnahan. Running for the Minnesota Senate wasn't something I planned on, but I've been encouraged and asked by many to run because of the people in our area. They are tired of the same career politicians who come out of the woodwork and make big promises and then forget about us. Quote continues, I'm running because we need one of us in the office, someone who knows what it's like to run a small business, take care of their family, has to work hard every single day to get ahead and still worry about things like the cost of groceries, gas, and energy bills. What kind of chances do you think Jennifer Carnahan might have?
You know, Amy, it's going to be a very crowded race, and there's some big names in the race that are related to other politicians. So Josh Gazelka, who's the son of former Senate Majority Leader Paul Gazelka, he has jumped in, and he was endorsed today by the Minnesota Police and Peace Officers Association. And then Carrie Heinzman has jumped in. She's the wife of State Rep Josh Heinzman, so existing political operation in half the district. She's been very involved in the party politics up there. And then there's a few other names that are there. So it's going to be crowded. It's going to be a special election. And anytime you have a special election, turnout is really a challenge. You can almost, line up your supporters and just make sure they get to the polls in a special election. So I think Carnahan's name will pop a little, but there's going to be some other names and some real competition in this race. It's by no means some sort of layup for any of these candidates.
Did the GOP distance themselves from her given sort of all the controversy?
It depends on what faction of the GOP you talk about, Amy. Multiple factions did distance themselves from her, but she does have a following within the party. So there are activists who think she was wronged when she was ousted as state party chair. But then when she ran for her late husband's seat, there was a lot of controversy about finances with the family, things like that. So look, each of the candidates has a core group of supporters. The question is who can expand their core group of supporters and then who can build an organization relatively quick.
I don't have any sort of statement from the GOP at all. I do have one from the DFL saying it's disgraceful that the Minnesota GOP might replace a senator who resigned after a child prostitution arrest with a former Minnesota GOP chair who resigned because of her ties with a child sex trafficker, to the information you just gave us. So just to reset just a little bit, because we talk about the House and the Senate and how close things have been. This wouldn't change the balance of power in the Senate, right? Can you kind of walk us through that?
Correct. No, the Senate, Democrats had a 34-33 majority. Now it's 34-32. The number I like to use, Amy, is that the House came into full service last Monday at 3:30 p.m. 67-67 tie. Then 2 hours and 15 minutes later, Senator Eichorn was arrested. So they were only in full power for about 2 hours and 15 minutes. So, it certainly adds to the drama and the soap opera that is the Minnesota legislature these days.
Man, it's been a wild ride already. I mean, compare this to other years. I know every year has its stuff, but I'm just curious. You've covered this for so long. How does this year sort of rank as far as just the wild swings?
Well, if you take this session, it's the wildest. And then if you take a year, we're coming up on a 1-year anniversary of Senator Mitchell being arrested and charged for allegedly burglarizing her stepmother's home. Right. You take that and a tie in the legislature, Amy, that tops my 30 years covering the legislature.
Yeah, wow, never a dull moment. Okay, thank you, Blois, for taking some time out. We really appreciate your insight into this.
No problem. Talk soon.
Take care. All right, let's take a quick break and come back. We have much more, though, ahead here on All Day Live. We hope that you'll stay with us. Max Fuller is going to be joining us soon. For real, he is here now, 100%, and we're so excited to welcome him. We've got some regional headlines as well. So stay with us. All Day Live continues right after this. Hi. Sorry, it's just doing a little of this because sometimes you talk a lot, you get that stuff that starts forming on the side of your mouth and it's kind of gross. So I was just doing that, sorry. Maybe take a little drink too. Let's look at some regional headlines. We're going to go right to the heart of Minnesota, central Minnesota, the St. Cloud area. We're proud St. Cloud State alum Ryan Rablin has found this story. Oh, and Leo, Leo went there too. Yeah, Leo, you grew up in New Ulm though, right? Yes? Yeah. And then went to St. Cloud State. Okay, I got to keep that in my head. I always affiliate Leo with New Ulm, and now I need to add St. Cloud State into my little memory bank. Okay, to St. Cloud now. St. Cloud State University waiting on some money before they get going here on a 5-year campus revitalization plan. So the story from St. Cloud Live. Apparently school officials are holding off on demolishing any of the older buildings until they get the state funding. The state university system asking the legislature for $25 million. And for St. Cloud State, that is money that would help with the demolition of several of the key buildings, including the, is it the Kiel Visual Arts Center, Ryan and Leo? Kiel? I believe so, yeah. You're not much a visual arts guy. Okay, you were more like the football guy, the media guy on campus, the media guy. Okay, Kiel Visual Arts Center, the Whitney House, and several parking lots as well. The plan would cost the university $313 million. And St. Cloud Live talked to the school's president, saying that the ultimate goal here is to create some more green spaces on campus. All right. And then just a little bit north here of St. Cloud to Brainerd Lakes area. And for those of you who have cabins up there or visit cabins up there, you might want to listen to this. The Brainerd Dispatch is reporting that officials there are taking a closer look at Highway 371. This is from Brainerd to Nisswa. A transportation corridor study is happening right now to hopefully improve safety on that stretch, give better access to businesses and more access for bikers and pedestrians as well. So we'll see what happens. The study is going to help determine how much local and state funding would actually be needed, though, to improve Highway 371. So a quick look at your regional headlines there. I don't know if you caught this over the weekend. This was a really big deal, a huge bummer for wrestler Gable Steveson. But just kind of one of those epic stories because it didn't have a happy ending, which is not typical for Gable Steveson. So one of the greatest wrestlers in Gopher history, if not in college wrestling, also the Olympian, comes up just a little bit short in his bid for a 3rd national title. So Steveson was beat in the final seconds of the title match on Saturday. If you can find it online and you can listen to the announcer at the time, you can just hear the shock and sort of shock/excitement for this other wrestler because overwhelmingly everyone thought that Gable just had this in the bag. So Gable Steveson releasing a message yesterday thanking all of his fans, saying he doesn't regret his decision to return to the U for a final season. Obviously an incredible, iconic career in maroon and gold. So again, he shared a post on Instagram overnight just thanking the Gopher Wrestling program, saying he actually had a quote in there, so I'll read this quote. He says, in part, when I left in 2022, there was always this itch to give y'all one last go around, and I'm glad I could come back and give the university the light that it deserves. He adds, we had a generational run, and I don't regret my decision to stay at home to put on for the city again and again. So congratulations to Gable on an incredible career, and I'm sure much more to come from him as we look to what he might be doing in the near future. And then a really big congratulations to another Minnesota beloved sports figure here, Minnesota native Lindsey Vonn. I don't know if you saw this, but skiing superstar, of course, she just made history at the World Cup finals in Idaho over the weekend. So she took 2nd place in the Super G, and she becomes, it's weird to say this, the oldest woman to reach the podium in World Cup history. She's not old, but for a professional athlete, especially, you know, somebody who's just, her body has just been through so much, came out of retirement last year, really testing her partially replaced knee as well. And there sounds like there's a chance that she could try to compete for Team USA at next year's Winter Olympics as well. So cannot say enough about what a huge accomplishment that is for Lindsey Vonn, and you know, athletes who people might say have peaked and are past their peak, but man, she just killed it. So congratulations to her as well. Okay, I've been looking forward to this moment for I don't know how long, for a very, very long time. Ryan Rablin, can you join us with our new member of our stream team? Is Max Fuller, everybody. Hey!
He's here.
He's here.
I'm here.
You're here. Man,
What's up, y'all?
We have had you as a guest from time to time, and it's always like, we want more Max, we want more Max. And you've had an amazing run at KFAN and contributed in every possible way over there, and they are missing you like crazy. But we are so honored to have you working with us and part of this stream team. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
It's still very surreal to me, you know, like I just started working with you guys just right around this time last year.
Yep.
And that was still surreal. I'm not joking. Every single time I ever left hanging out with you guys, I'd be like, that was terrible. That's the last time they're ever going to call me ever again. And it just kept being more and more and more. And this is still, like, I cannot believe it. I honestly cannot believe it. It's truly an honor to be like a part of this team and all the cool stuff that you guys are building here.
Yeah, we feel so lucky to have you, but the self-deprivation just proves that you are one of us already. So we love that. Ryan, we never walked away from one of his segments going, oh boy, that was wobbly.
No, I laughed so hard. It's Max, you have so much energy, and when you came into the office today, you basically got a standing ovation. I mean, that's just, you're already part of the family, but now it's just kind of official. So it's nice to have you in the office.
Yeah.
And Max is going to be a big part of this team, and it's good. We got a lot of exciting new things to come. I won't spoil a lot of traveling now, but.
Yeah, well, in fact,
Spoiler alert.
We're going to have you on next hour too. We'll talk a little bit more about your recent travels. You've been traveling like, you know, a crazy person, just awesome. And then also the role that you're going to have here at Fox 9. So I'm excited about that. But first, can we talk a little sports?
Of course.
You have been back for a little while. So Ryan is itching to talk March Madness. Ryan, you just go for it and dig in. You guys just, I watched a little bit, but I can't contribute a whole lot. So you take it from here.
Max, I know you tuned in a little bit. Maybe not as much as I did, because I take off.
I don't think anyone did as much as you did.
Yeah, I take off days of work for this, and it's.
Coach K didn't watch as much film as you did.
Well, you never know. I don't know what he's doing in retirement. But was there one thing about the tournament that you saw that kind of stood out, jumped out to you?
Honestly, it was just kind of I was all in. The first couple of days. It was my daughter's birthday over the weekend, so I wasn't super locked in. Happy birthday, Rowan. She turned 12. I still can't believe that she's a 12-year-old. I can see the tinges of her being a teenager seeping in, but she's still an innocent child for right now. So I wasn't completely locked in into round 2 as much. But round 1, and maybe this is me just jumping to a conclusion here, but I just feel like we noticed the effects of NIL. They were very prominent in terms of who are the haves, who are the have-nots. There wasn't as many upsets as we've seen in years past. And granted, obviously, we're not going to see like a 16 upset of one. That almost never happens. I think it's only happened twice in history. But even just some of the even smaller upsets, obviously we saw McNeese State and other schools like that. We didn't see as much competition. There wasn't as much of that second day excitement, and I feel like that's kind of the pronounced effects of NIL when you have people that have $1 bajillion and now GMs and stuff like that managing their teams versus teams that just barely snuck in there and got in through the first 4. So I feel like we're still working out what the tournament is going to exactly look like in the era of NIL, but it sounds like from what I saw that the second rounds have made up for the kind of lack of excitement in the first round so far.
How about that, Ryan?
Yeah, I agree with Max. That was kind of the big takeaway is we did not have a lot of the smaller schools upsetting the bigger schools, and usually we get like a George Mason or a Florida Gulf Coast that kind of sneaks their way into the Sweet 16, and I don't know if we don't have that. And I'm trying to think of the lowest seed that's still left. I don't know if it's Ole Miss at number 6. but they come from the SEC, so they're certainly not like a Cinderella underdog squad. So, back in the day when you'd have all those upsets, it was kind of fun, and then you'd get to these big late round games, and you're like, oh, it's George Mason versus Montana State or something. It's like, do we want to see that in the Sweet 16? But now I kind of do. Because you want what you can't have, right?
Right, of course. Well, it sounds like it's been some great action. Also, we got to talk about the women too. We want to mention that the Gopher women moving on in WBIT. They beat Missouri State 78-71. So also plug if you want to get tickets to the game at home. They get to play at home. You can get those tickets starting today. So hosting Gonzaga on Thursday night at the Barn. We learned how to pronounce Gonzaga in the last week, thanks to their head coach. He was like burning up over that poor reporter. I felt so bad. Like, am I saying it right? Gonzaga,
yeah.
Not Gonzaga.
Gonzaga. Yeah, I don't. It's a controversial thing. I didn't realize how heated of a debate it was.
Apparently it is. Yeah, Gonzaga. I think of it as like how we say bag in Minnesota. Bag. Gonzaga. Thursday night at the Barn, quarterfinals, 7:00, and then that winner goes to the Final Four in Indy. So support the women as well. Where are we at for time, Ryan? What do we got?
We've got all kinds of time.
Really?
With Max here, we got all kinds of time. I got to correct myself though. Yeah. Ole Miss is not the lowest seed. It's Arkansas as a 10 seed. Is into the Sweet 16. John Calipari, the former Kentucky coach. He's back in the Sweet 16, a place that he's gone so many times. So that is, I guess, your darling of the tournament, if you can call Arkansas from the SEC as well a darling. But they are the 10 seed, and all the 1 seeds advanced. So, yeah, crazy.
How are your brackets, guys?
Not great. I'm more of a Cinderella guy. I'm rooting for the underdogs, and let's just say there hasn't been a whole lot of glass slippers. It's been a whole lot of pumpkins and turning midnight on you boys. So mine isn't doing so hot right now.
Ryan?
I'm not great either, but my Final Four is intact. I got all my Final Four teams still alive, and my champion is obviously alive. I have Florida, so we'll see. We'll see if that's enough to I'm kind of midway through in my tournament.
Got it. Okay. Should we talk a little Wolves?
Let's
I know
do it.
you've been gone for quite some time. You took a grand trip around the world, Max. So you kind of missed some of this, but you've been back now a little over a week or so. Have you had a chance to watch? Your thoughts on the last sort of week to week and a half of the Wolves here?
Yeah, all I heard all vacation is, wow, this Timberwolves team has been so much fun. They're hotter than an egg frying on the street, on the sidewalk. This is amazing. They haven't lost since Julius Randle's been back. Anthony Edwards is playing out of his mind. And then I get back, and we lose to the Indiana Pacers, who are about, one injury away from calling up Reggie Miller to come out of retirement and come shoot for him. And then they lose to the Pelicans team, which is one of the worst in the entire NBA. Maybe it's me. Maybe I just need to leave the country again to give them some good fortune. But it's kind of just, it seems like they finally figured it out. They figured out their winning formula. But, we're all human at the end of the day. And they kind of just went back into those same kind of deficiencies that we've seen and inconsistencies that we've seen throughout the season. I've noticed mostly over those 2 losses last week is just the ball getting sticky in crunch time again. Anthony Edwards, as much as we love him, as much as he's the face of the league and a superstar and one of the best players that's ever donned a Timberwolves jersey, sometimes it seems like he's got to get his situational awareness down and maybe realize when he doesn't have the hot hand and trust his teammates a little bit more. And it just seems like we kind of slip into that hero ball a little bit too much towards crunch time in the end of games. But obviously they found a way to put it all together and absolutely just demolish that Pelicans team over the weekend, which is exactly what they should have done the first time. And now they get a little chance for revenge against the Pacers tonight as well.
Yeah.
I'm assuming a healthier Pacers team, but hopefully that doesn't matter and the Wolves can get a win at home here, because it's still, all these games really count. They're only a half game behind the Golden State Warriors, who are dealing with the Steph Curry injury right now. If we could get out of that play-in and get into that number 6 spot, I love the Wolves' chances against those teams that could be in that number 3 spot, like the Denver Nuggets, who we obviously beat last year in the playoffs. One of the best moments in Timberwolves franchise history, and they're 3-0 against them this season. They fared fairly well against the Houston Rockets as well. And who knows about the Los Angeles Lakers and LeBron James' health right now? Obviously, wouldn't be super excited to see Luka Doncic back at the Target Center, but I still like the Wolves' chances. And obviously, you just don't want to be in that play-in game whatsoever.
Oh, for sure not. For sure not. And I think emotionally it's been rough because I think a lot of us kind of got to a place where we're like, okay, well, this is going to be what it is, right? And then you started to see that surge while you were gone. That surge happened. But on the positive side, to see Julius Randle coming into his own, to see Dante DiVincenzo just so confident in, beyond the arc, it's just been so great to see. We just got to get all the pieces. Jaden McDaniels, my goodness. That young man is really just, can you believe it? It's just been crazy. So, but it doesn't, I'm not good at math, so I won't do the math in my head, but do we still have a chance at that 6th seed?
Oh, yeah.
We do? Okay.
Yeah.
Would we have to?
Yeah, they definitely do. They're only a half game back, so they definitely have
Okay.
a chance at that 6th spot.
So that Western Conference, man,
It's tight.
Sticky wicket.
And we're going through that famous Pacer-Pelican stretch right now on the schedule here, where we got that. Max mentioned that we had some bad losses, but now again the Pacers back after playing the Pelicans in back-to-back games.
Yeah.
So,
well, as Ryan will tell you, when you have little kids at home, which some of these players do, it affects things like sleep and, there are distractions at home, and no shade because it happens. They're real people who have real lives outside of this. And I feel like at home they just haven't been as strong. And I'm not saying that's why, but man, maybe they go on the road and just kill it again. I don't know. Hopefully.
I used to be a great employee here until Henry came along, and now I kind of walk in here like a zombie every day, and most of the time it's Amy, holding me up. And
it's okay. We've been there, man. It's Max. You've been there too. I mean, I can't believe she's 12. What, Max?
Me neither. It's so crazy. I still remember thinking, wow, it's going to be weird when she has teeth someday. And now, not only does she have teeth, she has, a whole vocabulary, and she has an attitude that's every day getting more similar to mine, which is terrifying. And I'm feeling the teenagerisms coming on, the eye rolls coming on, and Dad can embarrass her now, which I'm having a lot of fun with. But I just, it's so hard to believe that she's 12 years old and in middle school in her own little human. But
So
it's the greatest joy of my life.
Oh, so great. Ryan, what do we think? Do we want to take a break?
we can take a break here anytime. We're having so much fun with Max that time flies. So,
I know.
But yeah, we can take a break.
Do we want to? Can Max, you have time to stick around for Talkers? I don't know. You super busy? You got a bunch of HR stuff you got to do?
Yeah, for sure. Let's do it.
Okay.
Payroll,
all that. Got to make sure you
Not
get paid.
until later, so I'm clear for right now.
Okay, that sounds great. Well, why don't we take a break? Cool, Ryan?
Let's
and
do
then
it.
we'll come back with more with Max and Ryan when we come back. Stay with us all day. Live continues with Max. He's here full time. We're so grateful and excited.
You're watching Fox 9 All Day.
Welcome back to Fox 9 All Day. Ryan Rablin is here, just sort of keeping us on track and making sure that we, obey
I'm just the supporting actor here. Max is the lead actor. You're the lead actress in all this. So don't worry about me.
Yeah, no, I would step in the shadows and let just Max take this over if I could. Trust me. Max Fuller is with us full time now, and we could not be more excited. This is day one for you, and we just threw you right into the fire and said, can we have you on not once but twice in the next couple of hours?
His key card doesn't even work yet, but we're throwing him on TV here.
Seriously. We're super excited. Super excited. So just to kind of close out this hour before we head into the next hour, we do a couple of talkers. And the one thing that one of the things that caught our eye today is it's Dairy Queen, which has been a local, of course, company for many years, celebrating their 85th birthday today. I thought it was just the Blizzard, but no, it's the actual company. Ryan, your thoughts on the DQ Blizzard? Go.
I love the Blizzard, and I will make a strong case that is actually, as far as ice cream treats go, it's top two, if not number one. I will take a Dairy Queen Blizzard over some of these local hand-made ice cream, old-fashioned ice cream stores.
Okay.
When we go up to Nisswa, if people know the Nisswa area, the Chocolate Ox, which I love, not saying anything bad about the Chocolate Ox, but my family will go there for ice cream and treats. I will walk right down the street and get a Dairy Queen Blizzard. I love it. They're not paying me anything to say that.
No.
I just love a cookie dough Blizzard.
Yeah, this is not a paid advertisement at all, but anytime there's free or discounted stuff. So they are offering a small Blizzard for 85 cents with the purchase of at least something that costs $1. And I guess you have to find the coupon on the mobile app, so you have to get it through there. But Max, what are your thoughts on the Blizzard?
I was just telling Adam, another new member of the Fox 9 team, who told me, much to my dismay and shock, that he had never had a Blizzard before. I echo Ryan's sentiments, and I'll take it a step further. I will die for the Dairy Queen Blizzard. It is fine dining to me, elite. Like Gordon Ramsay could make ice cream, and I would choose the Dairy Queen Blizzard over that. Every single time, it's like David Blaine is there. When they put the cup over, every single time I pop for it. I clap, I give him an ovation. I'm just like, yay! And they're looking at me like, this is a grown man. Why is he so excited? But I'm still so impressed every single time. Yeah. And I will absolutely be there as soon as my shift is over, knowing that there's going to be 85 cents. You already had me at DQ Blizzard, but 85 cents, I'm there. I might get a fridge full.
Okay, what's the flavor then? What do you guys, I got to know.
It's cookie dough for me.
I'll try everything.
I'll
try anything and everything.
Really? Wow.
I just keep experimenting, and I fall in love even harder every single time. It's like 50 first dates. Every time it's like the first time I'm there.
That's so good. Okay, wow. Very strong feelings about
What do you feel about the Blizzard, Amy? Where are you laying on that?
I of course, I'm not going to. We just went the other night. We were like, you know what would sound good is just a cone, like a soft serve cone from there. And that was really good. I like frozen custard. But my favorite ice cream, so whenever we have the choice, I'm like, you guys go ahead and get that, for in the car with the kids or whatever. You guys get that. I'm going to go home and eat. I get a little pint. My favorite ice cream is Jenny's. I don't know if you've ever seen that brand. It's the brown butter almond brittle, which sounds weird, and it sounds like only 90-year-olds eat that. But I freaking love it. In a sugar cone, there's nothing better on the planet for me for ice cream. So I tend to kind of skip over that because calories count when you're doing the ice cream and stuff, and you're like, well, if I'm only having dessert once this week or 6 times this week, then I'm going to do what I want to do, right? So that's it. Yeah. So it's okay. It's okay. It's fine. It's good. That's not my favorite. You guys really, though, you committed, and I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, I thought liking the Blizzard would be a hot take now in the days of fancy stuff, But I'm glad Max is here to support me on that one.
Absolutely, but I'm with you.
I got your back any day, my Blizzard brother.
Let's go out for Blizzards.
Let's do it.
See you, Amy.
We're probably getting free ones after all this Blizzard talk now. No, we're not. We don't do that here. We don't do that here. Let's see. Oh gosh, we're coming up on the end of this hour.
Yeah, I got about a minute
just
left.
Wrap or.
1 minute
by
left.
rap, I don't mean. Sometimes, no, I'm not. I don't mean rap because.
I was getting worried.
I was like, is this a new part of the show since I've been gone? You just freestyling it?
It might be now. Yeah, I think we just invented a new segment, and I'm not mad at it. You know what? We'll talk about the fishing in the next hour. Why don't we do that? Because I don't want to cut this short, because we had a local Minnesota native here, Eastern Fothergill, who won the Bassmaster Classic that you may have seen right here on Fox 9 over the weekend. And apparently, by all accounts, Ryan, this was a really, really big deal, because we heard from a lot of people who were like, why aren't we talking more about this? So we'll talk more about it in the next hour. So wrapping this hour, Max is here. He's like right over there. He's not going anywhere. So excited. Yeah. You're going to join us next hour. And we got a lot more coming up on All Day Live. But we have some Zen, Ryan?
We do. Yep.
What do we know what it is? Oh.
There it is.
There it is. Beautiful. Oh, you can just kind of feel and smell that beautiful, peaceful sight. Okay, All Day Live will continue right after this. Stay with us. And welcome back to All Day Live, Hour 2. It is 1 o'clock on this Monday, and wow, what a great start to the day. It is really, really beautiful outside. March 24th already. My goodness, time's going by super fast. Some of you may be on spring break. If not, we're glad that you're with us this afternoon. We've got a lot to cover here, including some breaking news that came down late this morning, early this afternoon, about the Gopher men's basketball team. They've got themselves a new coach. They've been talking about it for a couple of weeks now since they let Ben Johnson go. And if you watched the NCAA tournament this weekend at all, you may recognize the familiar face. Ryan, you want to pop on a little bit here and talk a little bit about Colorado State's Niko Medved.
Niko Medved,
what do we know about Niko Medved?
Well, going back all the way to, hang on, let me take the mouse off of my face here. There, yeah. You know, it gets us. Niko Medved, he has ties to the University of Minnesota. He was a student manager, was an assistant coach with the Gophers, then got a head coaching job at McAllister. From there, he went on to Furman. And then spent 1 year at Drake, just to the south of us. So just one season at Drake before getting the job at Colorado State. And that's really when he started kind of making a name for himself. Went to a few NCAA tournaments, went to an NIT semifinal. But as we saw this weekend, Niko Medved's team, Colorado State, was seconds away from going to the Sweet 16. So he could still be playing, and then Maryland had that fantastic buzzer beater last night that sent Maryland on to the Sweet 16 instead of Colorado State. But because of that loss, we found out today that Niko Medved is heading to Minneapolis, to Dinkytown, to be the next Gopher men's basketball coach. He replaces Ben Johnson after 4 seasons. Right. Johnson was the coach here.
Yeah. A beloved coach, Ben Johnson, just obviously, struggled to kind of get things done against a lot of odds, though, too, right? So we'll have to kind of see what shakes out here for Coach Medved, and if things will look different for him coming in.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of so with Ben Johnson, he had the local connections to the U, but he didn't have any head coaching experience. He was an assistant coach with Xavier, so the Gophers were taking kind of a risk with him. And then, questions about whether he had kind of the right amount of support to compete in the Big Ten, and that Big Ten conference, even in his short tenure, has expanded. And now we have, our Los Angeles friends, UCLA and USC. So the conference is more competitive. So with Medved here now, he's got a little bit of a resume. He's got the ties, but he also has kind of a history of going to the NCAA tournament. So, that's priority number one for the Gophers, is to get back into that NCAA tournament. They haven't been there for a while.
Yeah. You've been watching so much college basketball. Did you get a chance to watch any Colorado State at all?
I did see their games. Yeah.
Did.
They looked really good in their opening round matchup against Memphis. They played very good. That was a tough Memphis squad, and they pulled away on that one. And they should have probably won the Maryland game last night if it wasn't for that last shot. So they could have been in the Sweet 16, and they could have made a case to continue moving on, too. They were a good team, and Medved was a big part of that. So hopefully that kind of transitions now into the Big Ten. But probably a dream job for Niko Medved. He gets to come back home. He gets to compete in a power conference, and we know how important those power conferences are now. But you could also make the case it might be a little bit harder for him to get to the NCAA tournament now. Colorado State played in the Mountain West, so the path to the NCAA may be a little easier there, where the Big Ten is, it's competitive, Amy.
Yeah. And the wild card being, how much support will he get for NFL, that kind of thing. So, there's a lot to sort through. And then we feel like we're going to meet her. We think we're going to meet him at some point in the next probably day or 2 or 3.
Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, he was playing late last night, so I imagine he's probably in Minneapolis now or heading here. And then the Gophers will probably have some sort of a press conference later this week. It could come as soon as tomorrow, maybe Wednesday. And then we'll kind of get to see him. And, it should be fun,
We wish him well. I mean, I think there's nothing more that, Gopher basketball fans want than to kind of go back to the glory days of just, the barn is full, it's rocking, it's, the team is having great success. Those were such fun years. It would be incredible.
And we got such a little taste this season. The Gophers kind of, after struggling, they started off, I think, 0-6 in the Big Ten, something like that. And then they made a little bit of a run, but then they came home and they lost some games that they should have won. So we got a little bit of a taste, but hopefully as Medved kind of gets on the ground here, can kind of stabilize things a little bit, and good times, hopefully.
I hope so. All right, do you want me to do, you want to do some headlines?
Yeah, we got Rob Olson here, so just give me a little bit here.
Let me do some setup here, and then we'll get to Rob, who's covering this story today, which just kind of continues to have legs here. So we're talking about former state senator Justin Eichorn, and some more information, coming out today on him. He was arrested, you may remember, last week for trying to solicit a minor for sex in Bloomington. And then he ended up resigning last week. He's federally charged. The feds have taken over this case now. And he's 40 years old, again, arrested while trying to meet a teenager in Bloomington. Prosecutors say, though, it was actually an undercover detective. And then a lot more details coming out. So Rob Olson is going to be covering that story for us today. We'll check in with him here as soon as. Oh, okay. Why don't we just bring Rob in? I want to steal all the thunder here because there's quite a bit that's coming out. Rob, hey, thanks for jumping on. So, what are some of the avenues that you're going down today with this Eichorn story? Oh, mute. Rob, mute. Unmute. You got it. Yes.
Can you hear me now?
I gotcha.
I was not muted, so that must have been in there.
Brian. This happened last time, and I blamed you, and I have to stop going. My default does not need to be you anymore.
It was me. Too many mute buttons. Carry on, okay. Rob Olson. My apologies.
All right, Rob. What roads are you going down today on this Eichorn story?
Well, a couple of developments. One is that Chief Booker Hodges from Bloomington held a press conference this morning to talk about the entire sting operation and went through all the people that were arrested, in addition to Justin Eichorn. And including one person who they showed, the dash cam video of, who tried to flee in his a pickup truck and went over a pretty steep embankment, retaining wall, and then kept going. It's pretty remarkable. They did detain that person eventually, and is still in custody because of that detention. But the bigger thing that we're really following up on today is this motion by the U.S. Attorney's Office in Minnesota that was filed yesterday on a Sunday, which is rare that you see that. But it's a motion to detain Justin Eichorn indefinitely until trial. Originally, at his initial appearance in detention hearing last week, it was agreed that he would be released to a halfway house once one was arranged, and that had sort of been tentatively arranged that he was going to go to a halfway house tomorrow. Now the U.S. Attorney's Office has filed this motion to detain him, keep him in custody indefinitely because of developments between a couple of jailhouse phone calls that he made to an individual A and the search of his apartment in St. Paul. As you know, legislators have apartments in St. Paul where they live during the session. So they'd executed a search warrant there on Friday. And as they were waiting to execute the warrant, holding the scene to make sure no one else went in or out, this individual A showed up wanting to go in to retrieve a laptop. They said, no, you can't do that. When they went in there, and there's pictures in the court document where they found this laptop in a bag along with a handgun and ammunition, cash, and an iPhone that had been reset to factory settings. Their suspicion here is that it had been remotely reset, but they're investigating to see who did it and how. So the motion to detain indefinitely is because he'd initially told authorities that he did not have a handgun in his apartment in St. Paul. Well, he does, or he did. And that there was this attempted, what they suspect is somebody trying to get this laptop from that apartment, and along with this phone that had been restored to factory settings. And so they say that really shows, A, you lied about a gun, and B, there's clearly what could be an attempt to flee. So that is the new thing. So we're waiting to see if there is then another detention hearing in federal court today, maybe tomorrow, but we're keeping tabs on that.
Wow, yeah, just more developments. It seems like every day on this. And then that seat, of course, open now. I think I read special election Tuesday is what I read. So we'll kind of see what happens. We talked to Blois just a little bit ago on kind of some of the candidates there. So there's a lot of sort of political fallout from this. And then also, did you get a chance to watch the entire presser with Chief Hodges?
I did, yeah.
So chilling, right? To see it kind of laid out in that way, and even more chilling. We had him on just a little bit ago, and for him to say, this kind of thing's happening all the time. We're just kind of publicly doing this in Bloomington. This is what we do. Other places just kind of put out press releases. I'm curious, kind of what your reaction was to some of the things you heard.
Well, yeah, and where he showed, because they set up this decoy operation, and these are the number of people that they detained in this, where people were knowingly communicating with somebody who, and again, it's a decoy, but the decoy told them, I'm 17.
Yeah. And
so, they're very careful to make it very clear to these people that this person is 17, and yet they elected to try to rendezvous anyway. There were some that had expressed, according to the chief, some concerns about their age, and then went ahead and with the meetup anyway. And he did mention too that Bloomington has got more hotel rooms than anywhere else in the state of Minnesota. I can't remember the number; it's in my notes here, but because they're along the 494 strip near the airport, there's more hotels and hotel rooms than anywhere else in the state. And so Bloomington has had a history, as is, Richfield as well, but more Bloomington, with sex trafficking issues. I remember covering some other cases in recent years where they've made some major busts of sex trafficking rings that use those hotels along the 494 strip. And in some cases, it's groups of young women who are flown from city to city, that they're trafficked. They're essentially held hostage, and they're brought into a hotel and basically not allowed to go anywhere. I mean, they're driven from the airport to this hotel, and they're there for a few weeks, and then they're flown out to a different city, and a different group comes in. So, I mean, it's known that there's been that history just because of the sort of logistical, geographical situation of Bloomington. So that's why there's so much more investigations going on there. And so, yeah, he did say that, I mean, this has been a long time big problem, and this is a small part of it.
All right. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it. We'll look for your stories coming up later tonight, 5 and 6 and beyond. So thank you.
You bet.
Okay. Take care. All right, should we take a quick break, Ryan? All right, sounds good. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to dig into this a little bit more. 23andMe has filed for bankruptcy. If you have, submitted your information to them, you might be concerned about that, and we're going to talk with a bankruptcy attorney who specializes in this kind of thing to just find out, what are your rights as a consumer when a company goes belly up like this. So stay with us. All Day Live will continue right after this break. Well, welcome back to All Day Live. We want to catch you up on some more headlines here. This one caught our attention. 23andMe has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection to help the genetic testing company facilitate a sale. It's been years of financial issues now. They're a California-based company, and they've just really struggled to find a profitable business model since they went public. It was 2021 when that happened. We wanted to find out a little bit more about consumer rights when something like this happens. So joining me now is Monique Hayes, an attorney who specializes in bankruptcy practice. Monique, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So first of all, let's just start at a very top level. What is Chapter 11 bankruptcy in a case like this? What does that look like for this company?
Okay, so a Chapter 11 bankruptcy is an operating type of bankruptcy, not as a liquidation that's turned over to a court trustee to administer the process. Instead, in a Chapter 11 bankruptcy, the business is coming up with some sort of plan to treat its creditors over time. Sometimes that's in order to have a turnaround and continue with its operations, or sometimes, as in what we're seeing in the case of 23andMe, it is for a plan that would allow them to orderly liquidate their assets, sell their property in order to get the highest return in an effort to give something significant back to their creditors.
Okay, so how do consumers who have signed up for 23andMe and given their very, very personal information, how do they fit into all of this, and do they end up falling through the cracks in something like this?
They could end up falling into the cracks. So it is important that consumers pay attention and have an understanding of what their rights are. So first, both in the bankruptcy and outside of the bankruptcy, the consumer's rights are defined in the agreement with the company here, 23andMe. So the first thing consumers want to do is to have a copy of the contract that they entered with 23andMe. And a lot of times, if they initiated the agreement online, they don't realize it, but consumers actually have an agreement, and that agreement is the service agreement that is online when you signed up for the service. So you want to download a copy of that, as well as the terms of service for the website, because that will be the first place that defines what the consumer's rights are. Okay?
Yes.
And then in the bankruptcy proceeding, there are times where the rights can be modified, meaning 23andMe may, as a part of the bankruptcy, try to change the terms of that contract. If that is the case, they would have to send notice to each of those consumers through the mail. So in the coming days, it will be very important for the consumers to pay attention to their mail, including their email, if that's where they got notices from 23andMe, because that's where they will learn details that affects their contract in the bankruptcy proceedings.
And obviously every contract is going to be really different for different companies. In a case like this, though, so are you saying, is it possible that in sort of all the fine print and the contracts that we always just kind of check and never really read, right? We're all guilty of that, that they could say, yes, you did sign up for this and you trusted us with your personal information, but in the case of a bankruptcy or, you know, whatever, that may be null and void, and your information could then be shared. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
That is correct. So those types of provisions would be in that contract. So in the case of 23andMe specifically, their agreement, their standard agreement, and this may be different. So each consumer needs to download the agreement because they change over time. Depending on the year that you took the service, the terms may have changed. So you want to understand the terms that applied at the time that you entered into the agreement. But their standard agreement at 23andMe does contain a provision that gives them a right to, in the event of bankruptcy, to sell certain data that is consumer related, including the results from consumers. And so that is a provision in the contract. I wouldn't immediately assume that that provision is valid and enforceable, but we want to know if it's there. That's the starting point.
Okay.
And then from there, we would want to know if it is enforceable either in bankruptcy or outside of bankruptcy. And that would be a part of the discussion. So that's one sliver of concern, whether the data can be sold. Another point of concern that will also be addressed in the contract is who actually owns that data. Generally, DNA and DNA results belong to the person that they relate to. So your DNA cannot be sold without your consent. So the question is, did you ever give your consent for that sale? And how I would know that, or how we would know that, is by looking at that agreement. So we need to look at the agreement that applied when each consumer took in the service, to understand whether 23andMe has the right to sell that information.
Okay. So let's say let's just say in a worst case scenario that your personal data, your DNA does get sold and it's out there. Is there recourse or not? Or did you sign it away?
That is what may be different in each case. Okay. So we want to see what's in the contract.
Okay.
And then even if you find out as a consumer that there was a provision that said you have essentially sold it away, you should not just walk away and concede that that is enforceable, or that it has been sold for any and all purposes. That will be an issue that will need to be addressed in the bankruptcy proceedings, and the consumers may be heard. So for instance, if you consented to the release of your information, and you perhaps were even aware that it contained a fine print that the information could be sold in a bankruptcy, the type of sale may make a difference to you. It may make a difference if it's being sold to a similar company, or if it's being sold to a company that has never been vetted and never been heard of, and you don't know what they're potentially going to do with your information. So in that type of scenario, then as a consumer, you do want to pay attention to the bankruptcy proceedings to understand not only if there is going to be a sale, but to whom the sale could potentially go to. And if you have the opportunity to voice your concerns as a consumer in the bankruptcy proceedings, including objecting to a particular sale or a particular purchaser, that will be the time that you will receive notice and the opportunity to be heard.
Wow. This is a lot.
It is.
I mean, I feel like, you would almost need to have someone like you kind of, in your life to be able to say, hey, Monique, this is happening, and to walk you through everything, because there's so many different layers here. Is there a bigger sort of consumer beware message that you would give here for anybody signing up for, anything like this, no matter if it's personal like this or not, given your expertise here?
Yes, absolutely. Nowadays, in any type of agreement that you're entering into, especially ones that originate online, and if it's for personal services, but I carry that if it is also for an substantial amount of money that you are either investing or using for a service, or if it's a personal service that relates to something substantial or personal. That could be your personal identity, your DNA, a large sum of money. You want to, before you actually take the service, make the payment and sign the agreement, including a digital signature. Consumers need to be aware that digital signatures are enforceable the same as a wet signature with a pen. So you want to know before you sign on to the agreement what the terms are. So download them, have a copy of them, the service agreement, as well as the terms of service for the website. And then if you can, consult with an attorney before you enter into the agreement. But even if you are not able to consult with an attorney, you still should at the very least understand the agreement yourself. So when you are able to review it, download it before you sign up, before you pay, make sure you understand what happens in the event that the company closes, in the event of a bankruptcy or another type of proceeding where the original company that you entered into the agreement with may be changing. And that may include a sale outside of a bankruptcy scenario. You want to understand that the agreement that you entered into will be honored. And if there is a circumstance that it may not be honored, you want to understand what that circumstance is. And the best place to start to understand that is with the actual agreement. And then outside of that, it is with your state and local laws that may govern these types of transactions.
Okay, wow. Good advice. So yeah, investing, spending a lot of money or giving away very personal information like this, definitely, think and read through everything that you can beforehand. Monique Hayes, a partner with DGIM. We really appreciate your time today, and hopefully this turns out as well as possible for folks who have given their information to 23andMe.
Yes, I'll be following along, and if I have any more insights, I'll be happy to share.
I appreciate it very much. Thank you for your time today.
Oh, my pleasure.
All right, take care, Monique. Thank you. All right, should we take a quick break, Ryan, or do you have some more updates for us? Something?
Just a brief one on something we talked about earlier. We were wondering when the new Gopher head coach would be introduced. We have that answer. And it's good news for all day viewers because it's going to happen tomorrow at noon. So that means that we can bring that press conference to you live here on All Day Live. So Nico Medved, the new Gopher basketball coach, will be introduced tomorrow. Right, and we'll bring it to you at noon, straight up.
I anticipate if there's nothing else sort of, much bigger than that we will take that in its entirety and be able to meet Nico Medved.
I should say that, yes. Yep.
But that'll be great to kind of get eyes on him and just hear how he's feeling about coming in here. So great. All right.
Now we can take a break.
We're gonna take a break, and okay, when we come back, what are we looking at when we come back? Are we gonna pop to the Capitol maybe?
We're gonna go to the Capitol. Yep, they're getting ready for a birthday celebration.
Oh, 90th
of
birthday
sorts.
Year. For somebody, we won't say who, but you've definitely heard of this person.
Definitely.
Okay, All Day Live continues right after this. Stay with us. And welcome back to All Day Live. It is 1:31 on Monday, March 24th. Hope you're having a great Monday. It's a beautiful day outside. Seeing lots of sunshine out there. It's going to be a good one. Over at the Capitol today, there's quite a bit going on. And what you're seeing right now is folks setting up for what is a historic celebration of the Dalai Lama's 90th birthday year. This is the first time ever that they've hosted this at the state capitol. So honoring His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, of course, a global icon of peace, nonviolence, resilience. And you're taking a look at some folks getting things set up. We know there's going to be representatives from the Dalai Lama's offices in both India and Washington, D.C. who are present. Some Minnesota elected officials, some interfaith leaders, also just community representatives as well. More than 50 Tibetan monks for the first time in the rotunda. So as things get going there, we will try to take you there live and see what's happening. And then also there's a photo exhibition showcasing the Dalai Lama's just extraordinary life and teachings. The theme of this year's celebration, I understand, is gratitude. So reflecting on the appreciation that people have all over the world for the Dalai Lama's advocacy, lifelong advocacy for human rights, environmental stewardship, interfaith harmony. And Minnesota is home actually to one of the largest Tibetan, Bhutanese, Nepalese, and Mongolian communities in the country. So really this is an event that is a testament to their cultural contributions and the deep connection to His Holiness's teachings. And really taking place also to note during a pivotal movement in Tibetan history, just days after the release of His Holiness's latest book, A Voice for the Voiceless, where he publicly declares for the first time that his reincarnation will be born in the free world outside of China. So interesting, just a fascinating person to learn about, and obviously has very dedicated following all over the world. So we'll probably cut away from this now, do a couple of other headlines, but we'll take you right back there as things get going at the Capitol. I wanted to get this story in today because Minneapolis police are asking for some help. They are trying to track down the people who are behind a string of armed robberies that happened. So MPD saying that there were 5 robberies that happened at gunpoint in Dinkytown, and it all was within 15 minutes of each other and within 2 miles of each other. This was early Sunday morning. All those robberies happened again. So it was between 2:42 a.m. and 2:57 a.m. Sunday morning in the Dinkytown area. One was in Northeast Minneapolis, just a 3-minute drive from where Young Joni is, if you know where that is. And the victims here robbed at gunpoint. Fortunately, nobody was injured. One victim was assaulted, is expected to be okay. Police telling us that the suspects went after things like keys, backpacks, credit cards, IDs, and purses. They say that each of the robberies involved a group of 3 to 4 suspects in a sedan, and some of them were driving gray sedans. And one person reported seeing the suspects in a gold sedan as well. So there is a robbery pattern response protocol that was triggered here, and this was an initiative that was introduced by the department last month. It basically allows officers who are on non-emergency calls to flood the area of these reported robberies and put an increased law enforcement presence there. So one other time I think they've ever activated that, there were that's after there were 14 robberies reported in Lyndale and Kingfield neighborhoods last month. But unfortunately, even with that extra presence, officers just not able to track down these suspects. As far as we know, it is 1:35 here in the afternoon on Monday, and so far we understand they are still looking for help. Any tips? So if you have any information about anything that you've seen or heard from that area, you're asked to contact Minneapolis police right away. Do we want to talk about, Ryan, the bass fishermen, or what do you think?
Let's save that.
Ooh, okay.
Let's save that. I think they're getting close here at the state capitol.
Okay.
Why don't we take a quick break, pay the bills around here,
Okay.
and I'm hoping by the time we come back that things will get underway at the Capitol for the Dalai Lama's birthday celebration. So let's do that.
Okay, we'll be right back. And welcome back to All Day Live. Let's take you back out to the Capitol. This is where an event is going to be starting here any moment. It's a historic celebration, as you see there, a photo of the Dalai Lama, 90th birthday year, and this is the first time that this has been hosted at the Minnesota State Capitol, marking the 90th birthday year of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama. Some representatives from his offices in India and Washington, D.C., some elected officials from here in Minnesota, some interfaith leaders. That's been a big part of who he is, some community folks as well. So I think we're just going to take you there, just kind of sit on this for a little bit and see what happens. I think they're going to be starting here shortly. And if not, we'll just bring you back in and keep going with the show. But let's just listen in for a little bit.
check 1, 2, 3. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 1, 2, 3, check. Hello, 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 hello.
Hello. Good afternoon, folks. We'll start in about 2 to 3 minutes. Currently, the representative of the Dalai Lama's office is recognizing the elected officials in the building. So just about 2 to 3 minutes, we'll finish the ceremony and then we'll start. Thank you all for being here.
All right, so you're watching All Day Live, and we are waiting. As you may have just heard, it's going to be another minute or so before this event gets started. But this is a historic celebration of the 90th birthday year for the Dalai Lama, and this is the first time that this has ever happened here at the state capitol in Minnesota. So a lot of elected officials, some interfaith leaders, community representatives, and then also some folks from the Dalai Lama's offices in India and also Washington, D.C. Are here. You can see the photograph of the Dalai Lama there as well. So what we'll do is they're going to get started here any second. We'll just stay with this and we'll take it, and we'll wrap here at the top of the hour. And if this takes us to that point, then that's what we're going to do. If not, we'll come back here and do some more news with you. But just letting you know, we're going to take this in full so that you can see what's happening at the Capitol. Let's continue to listen in.
Tashdile. Tashdile, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Esteemed guests, respected monks, elected officials, and members of our vibrant communities, welcome to History in the Making. I would first like to recognize Venerable Lobsa Gyaltse Rinpoche, His Eminence Kangse Choje Gosho Rinpoche, His Eminence Sharap Choji Gawang Jode Rinpoche, Kungwe Lobsa Jimpala, Gomo Khensu Rinpoche, Dr. Namge Churupla. Since the session is on, we've been told that we can't have prayers in the rotunda, but I can surely feel the energy in this great hall, blessed by the presence of many spiritual beings from across North America and India. Thank you for being here. We also have many lawmakers here, and I'd like to recognize some of the folks here, Representative Colin Herr, Representative Ethan Cha, Mayor Mary Supple, Mr. Chow from Congresswoman Betty McCollum's office, Representative, I'm missing out, Stephen Elkins, Representative Samantha Vang, I'm like missing out. Sansabara, thank you. And then we have Council Member Tony, we have, who are the electeds here? And from, you are, right? Pointed. That's it, right? If I miss out, I'm sorry. It's been a rush, and like I said, a lot of folks are coming in and out. We really appreciate you being here. I know a lot of lawmakers wanted to be here but couldn't be. But my name is Jigme, and it's my honor to be your MC this afternoon. Today, for the first time in the history of Minnesota, inside these great halls of the Rotunda, we gather not just to celebrate the birthday year in the honor of the legacy of someone who's led a legacy of compassion, resilience, unwavering truth in the face of oppressions. We are here to pay tribute to His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, who for 9 decades has been a guiding light not just for the Tibetans, but people across the world. When he was 14 years old, his country was invaded by the CCP in 1950. Then he was thrust into a position of leadership as Tibet faced one of its darkest hours. When he was 23 years old, he was forced into exile, leaving behind his homeland, his people, and his land, only to become one of the greatest forces for justice while in exile. Through exile and adversity, he never wavered. He carried Tibet in his heart, and in doing so, he carried all of us Tibetans. He not only transformed our suffering into a movement, but our pain into purpose. And today, as we mark his 90th year, he is still fighting. Just days ago, His Holiness made a historic declaration, one that shakes the foundation of Beijing over Tibet's future. For the first time, he has publicly affirmed that his reincarnation will be born in the free world beyond the reach of China's oppression in his new book, Voice for the Voiceless. This is the moment of truth, conviction, and hope. So with full hearts and gratitude, deep gratitude, let us begin. Also, the celebration today is organized by the Office of Tibet in Washington, D.C., the U.S. Chodro Murlam Association, and the Tibetan American Foundation of Minnesota. Now it is my greatest honor to introduce one of our keynote speakers, Dr. Namgyal Chödrop, the representative of His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, from the Office of Tibet in Washington, D.C. He's someone who has worked tirelessly to uplift, represent, and empower communities across North America. Dr. Chödrop embodies the spirit of resilience, vision, and unity. Please join me to give him a warm welcome, Dr. Chödrop.
Tashidelek, everyone, and thank you, Jigmela, for your kind words. It gives me a great honor to be here in this special sacred place as the representative of His Holiness the Dalai Lama to North America. I would like to extend my warm greetings to all who have gathered here to celebrate the 90th birthday of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who is one of great moral leaders of our time. He is 90 and is still every day working hard to spread this message of kindness and love. Had the people of Tibet been left to lead a normal life free from cultural and political oppression, the Dalai Lama would have lived happily in Tibet as a spiritual leader without much contact with the rest of the world. So in a cruel, ironic way, when Dalai Lama and the Tibetan people lost their country, their freedom in 1959, the world gained the Dalai Lama. So in a way, we are here to celebrate his life and his messages. He always reminds us.
And we are watching a historic celebration of the Dalai Lama's 90th birthday year at the Minnesota State Capitol. For the first time ever, they are marking
the very idea of
the
us
birthday year of His
versus
Holiness
them.
the 14th Dalai Lama. So All Day Live will continue right after this.